Is there any way to make homeschooling easier? Well, friend, today I submit to you that yes, indeed there is. Oxford's English Dictionary defines easy as without difficulty or effort. And while I believe that homeschooling, like anything else in life that's worth doing, requires some effort and some difficulty, I believe that there are 3 areas that you can look at that will help reduce the amount of difficulty and reduce the amount of effort it takes to homeschool on a daily basis. And these areas are your organization, your planning, and your schooling. So first, let's look at making your life a little bit easier by simplifying your organization. So when it comes to homeschooling, there are a lot of things that need to be organized. And the first thing that comes to mind are the actual homeschooling supplies. And then next are the homeschool books or the curriculum. And the third thing is the actual school work. Once you're started on a project or you're started on a paper, where are those things kept? And once it's completed, how is that organized? So let's talk about organizing the supplies. There are many, many ways to organize school supplies. And I'm just going to share with you what I've done that works for me. And you can also look on Pinterest or Google to find lots of other ideas for organizing school supplies. But I'm going to share with you how I simply store our school supplies and what works for us. So to keep my own homeschooling supplies organized, I use Sterilite bins. These are just plastic see-through bins that I picked up at our local store, and some of them are a shoebox size and some of them are a little smaller than that, some are a little larger. So there's a few things to consider whenever you're looking at bins for your homeschooling supplies. And the first thing is to consider the size. Make sure that the ones that you want to stack actually fit together. The second thing is to either have them be see-through so that you can see the contents, or easily labeled so that you can label them and know exactly what's inside the bin. So definitely be thinking about how easy it is to access the things in the bins by the people who need to have access. So I keep my bins way high up on top of our homeschool shelf. And I do this because I don't want my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old to easily access anything in those bins. And so be thinking about the height and where you're going to store these so that it makes sense for you and how you want to homeschool. And the third thing is to make sure that you don't have too many. If you have too many, it may be overwhelming to pull out the supplies and then to tidy up whenever you're done with the supplies. So if it's just too overwhelming of a job, then think about maybe reducing the amount of school supplies you have on hand, and that might make your homeschool way easier for you. So the next thing to think about is how you're organizing your school books or your school curriculum. So I encourage you to think about what is the easiest way for you to organize your homeschool books so that it makes sense for you to use them, to easily pull out the book that you need, to have it right there handy, and then to be able to easily put it away whenever you're done with it. And I have found that I absolutely love a rolling cart for these homeschool books that I use, the curriculum and the teacher's manuals that I use on a daily basis. And this rolling cart is so handy to pull over beside the table, to use the manuals or the books that we need, and then to easily stick them back in the top and push it back over to the wall when we're done. It's such a simple and easy way to organize all of the curriculum and the books that we use on a daily basis. So the next consideration is, where do you store the completed schoolwork? The papers or summaries or math papers, whatever they're doing, the projects that they're working on, where do you store those? So making sure that you have a place for those completed projects or those projects in progress is really important. So when we moved up to this schoolroom, my husband made me some cubbies, and each of the kids have their own cubby. Each of these cubbies holds the work that they have completed. And so these are history summaries, this is their math papers, or some of them have the books that they work on throughout the day in those cubbies. So any of their schoolwork belongs in their cubby. My oldest daughter uses a desk in the corner of our schoolroom for some of the time. So she keeps her textbooks over in the desk to have them handy whenever she's working through her schoolwork. And yet her completed work always goes back to her cubby. So if there's anything that she's completed that we're looking for, it's always to be in her cubby. So once you have a handle on how you can easily keep track of the flow of learning and books and materials and everything you need throughout the day for homeschooling, next let's look at planning, because I think that this is another really important thing that can pose a lot of difficulty and be a lot of effort. Now, planning is such a personal and individual thing. So depending on the type of teacher that you are, the type of educator you are, you might like to have lots and lots and lots of planning. And maybe the difficulty for you is finding the time to plan. Or maybe the difficulty for you is actually planning. Like, what does it look like to actually sit down and plan out a lesson plan, or to sit down and plan out a unit study? If you're looking for more information and tips and tricks on planning out a unit study, I have a video completely dedicated to that, and I will put a link in the description box below for you to check that out if that's something you're interested in. But some of us just need to make sure that we have an appointment for planning. So whether you are a micro planner and need to plan things out maybe a day before and have everything planned out and the flow of your homeschool for the day planned out, or maybe need to have a weekly plan for your homeschool and you like to plan on maybe a Sunday evening, or maybe you are a macro planner and you just want the flow of the month and you can do a monthly plan and you do a monthly overview for your homeschool. However you plan, make sure that you have an appointment with yourself, a date and a time that you can sit down and figure out what you want your homeschool to be like. And by doing that, by keeping that appointment with yourself for planning out your homeschool, that might really help to make your homeschool a little bit easier. You could also think about using this planning time for if you have older students and you are writing in a notebook for them to keep track of their work, or if they have a planner that you are writing down their assignments in, you can use this time to get those planned out and ready for them. So finally, let's look at the actual homeschool day, how to make the day easier. So I've got 3 tips for you. And the first thing is to make the requirements easy. So maybe your requirement is counting hours of your schooling, or maybe your requirement is tracking your schooling for the day. So think about, what are some things that I can do to set us up for success, to make this an easy thing to happen every day. The second tip I have is to get yourself in the right frame of mind. I think most of us have a really good idea as far as what we need in order for us to be successful educators. And I think that a lot of times what we need kind of just gets pushed aside or brushed aside, or we just don't make it a priority because we have all of these other things that we're thinking about and all these other plates that we're juggling. And whether that's what we need on a daily basis or a weekly basis, a lot of times we know what we need. And sometimes we just don't know how to get it, how to do it. And so by taking time to make it a priority that we get what we need to be in the right frame of mind to homeschool well, I think that will make a huge difference in how easy it is for you to homeschool. So maybe you say, okay, drinking my cup of coffee by myself without anyone needing me or touching me for an hour would make me the best educator possible. So maybe that's a little outside the realm of possibility for you in life right now, but you could say, I think that 5 minutes alone with a cup of coffee, maybe some soft music playing, or doing your devotions, whatever you know that you need, taking those few minutes and making the most of them rather than scrolling social media or these little sneaky distractions, things that pop in and steal those moments, that precious time that we have, choosing to make whatever it is that you need the priority for those few minutes, I think will really help you to be in the right frame of mind so that homeschooling could be easier for you. And the third thing is to lean in to delight. And I think if you are passionate about something, if you are excited about something, if you are delighting in something, it is so much easier to do it, right? And so leaning into the parts of homeschool that you love, whether that's just spending time with your kids, lean into that. You know, do the subjects with them or do the projects with them. Maybe what you love about homeschool is the science, or maybe what you love about homeschool is the math teaching, or maybe what you love is getting outdoors with your kids. Whatever the thing is that brings you delight, that you can share with your child as the home educator, then do that thing, lean into it, and really make that an important part of your homeschool. And so I think if we really look at those three areas, our organization, our planning, and the actual schooling that happens during the day, if we examine those things, we can make homeschooling easier for ourselves. So I'd love to know, what are some of the difficulties that you're facing in homeschooling right now? Would addressing any of these areas help you to simplify or make homeschool a little bit easier? And I would love to know if there are any creative ways that you have found to organize or plan or actually homeschool your kids. What are these creative ways that you have found to help you? And if you wouldn't mind sharing, leave a comment below. Let us know, what are some things that you do that make homeschooling a little bit easier. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week homeschooling, and I will see you again in my next video.